second part of Unit 2 is perception. The eye behind the eye. The illusion of reality. From Socrates, know the self, to Emerson's As I am, so I see, perception remains one of the fundamentals in effective communication. In the beginning of Unit 2, we made a short reference on intrapersonal communication, the thinking and self-talk angle of communication. Talking with ourselves is the basis for all other communication. Who are you? How do others see you? How do you see others? Why are you different? Why you disagree with some people? And what role perception plays in this exchange? Although perception is a complex process, it's fundamental in effective communication. Our world is what we perceive. Think of our perception as a window through which you see the world. How many blind spots could exist from the perspective of your window? A definition is that perception is a single process through which we draw information from our senses, we organize them, we process them, and understand our experiences. How does perception work? Perception involves a series of stages: stimulation, organization, interpretation, retrieving, and finally responsive. Starting with stimulation. In order to perceive that something is happening, it must come to a person's attention. Stimulation can occur through any of the five senses. If you remember at the beginning, we made reference to them: smelling, seeing, hearing, touching, or tasting. All these are stimuli. Your senses work as an antenna to the world, receiving information all the time. Eventually, a few of this information, as if to bypass your personal filters, as reticular activating system, your RAS, doesn't allow all the information to pass through the gates of your brain. Imagine that each moment we receive close to 2 million information. What would happen if we tried to process them without filtering? Probably our brain would explode. The RAS filter is trained and guided by us. This filter ensures that only important information will pass the gates of your brain. RAS is programmed to allow the pass of information that, firstly, are important and relevant with survival, have novelty value, will learn new things, and have content with high emotional value. These are the three concepts of RAS when it comes to filtering information. Nevertheless, our focus, as said before, influences the programming of RAS. So, we have to be very, very careful on what we focus on this moment. Socrates, ancient Greek philosopher's three questions test, is ideal to understand how a person can train his or her RAS and allow only certain information to pass the gates of the brain. In ancient Greece, Socrates was widely lauded for his wisdom. One day the great philosopher came upon a friend who ran up to him excitedly and said, "Socrates, do you know what I just heard about one of your students?" "Wait a moment," Socrates replied. "Before you tell me, I'd like you to pass a little test. It is called the test of three." "Test of three? What is this, Socrates?" "That's right," said Socrates. "Before you talk to me about my student, let's take a moment to test what you are going to say. The first test is truth. Have you made absolutely sure that what you are about to tell me is true?" No, the man replied. Actually, I just heard about it. Alright, said Socrates. So, you don't really know if it's true or not. Now, let's try the second test. The test of goodness. Is what you're about to tell me about my student something good? The man replied, no, on the contrary. So, Socrates continued, you want to tell me something bad about him, even though you are not certain it is true? Am I understanding well? No, on the contrary, the man replied. So Socrates continued. The man shrugged, a little embarrassed. Socrates continued. You may still pass through because there is a third test. The filter of usefulness. Is what you want to tell me about my student going to be useful to me or contribute in my professional and personal development? No, not really, the man responded. Well, concluded Socrates, if what you want to tell me is neither true, nor good, nor even useful, why tell it to me at all? The man was defeated and ashamed. This is the reason Socrates was a great philosopher. It also explains why he never found out that Plato was sleeping with his wife. The next stage after stimulation is organization. After we receive the stimuli, then we have to organize the information we just received. To quickly disseminate large amounts of information such as events happening, a human's brain organizes the events by familiar components. The connecting familiar components with past experiences helps the person understand what is happening. For this reason, we use three principles. We use the figure ground principle. We organize the multiple stimuli that we receive, so what we focus becomes figure and the rest becomes ground. To experience the concept, see the next picture. Did you see a vase? Or two persons facing each other? It depends on your focus, and you may be able to see both, just not at the same time. You only can focus on one thing at a time. Then we use also perceptual schemata. We use constructs to organize our perceptions, for instance, physical constructs as overweight or thin, ugly and beautiful. We also use role constructs, describing social position as wife, teacher, lawyer, president, or any other. Psychological constructs, describing the state of mind as sad, happy, self-obsessed. And of course interaction constructs like caring, approachable, and more. We adapt to these constructs to understand and explain our experiences. And finally, we also use closure, the tendency to fill in the missing gaps. This principle explains why most of us have no trouble reading a neon sign even if several of its letters are bent out. Closure was tested by the advertising industry with a hypothesis to drive greater engagement. Marketing strategies that use a closure principle encourage audience participation, which increases the chance that people will attend to the message. Look at the stimuli in the next picture. What do you see? Most of us see a dog instead of random ink-blots, a circle and a triangle as well instead of random lines. We fill missing gaps based on our experiences. What is happening is that our brains just recall past memories and match the schemes with these memories, offering us then something solid to perceive. We make sense of the world in much the same way. Then the next stage is interpretation. The stage we are trying to make sense of the stimuli. We give meaning to what we have experienced based on our past experiences. Then we have the stage of retrieval. Retrieving is a stage we recall from memory a perceived event or a moment that is stored in this memory. Individuals use those previously formed associations with personal beliefs and experiences to remember events and make personal evaluations of them. And the last stage is responding. The stage where we decide what to think or how to act according to all the previous influences. We explore the ways we organize our perception. Now we pass to perceptual differences. They exist because perception is selective and personal. These differences are divided in three major areas. First, we have personal attributes: gender, sex, race, past experiences. Socioeconomical differences: our vocation, our training, our context, our family, our income, our social class. Cultural differences as language, tradition, beliefs, history, historical perspectives, and more. In conclusion, after what we already explored, we can agree that we perceive part of the reality. See the next video with Darren Brown challenging the limits of human perception.
Most of us think we're pretty observant, but with a bit of mind control, I wanted to see if I could make these people take even the most obvious things for granted. Excuse me. Yeah. Do you know how to get to Trinity Church from here?
Yeah. You see that church down there?
Yep, straight through there.
And then you keep going down.
Sorry.
Which way? You see where that church is down there?
Yeah.
You stay on that, which is, I believe, Broadway. And then you walk down 2 or 3 blocks and Trinity Church is on the right-hand side. We're walking in that direction.
Excuse me, you don't know where Trinity Church is, do you?
Might be Wall Street and Broadway.
Okay. Well, we're down here somewhere, aren't we?
Yeah, you see Trinity Church.
Oops, sorry.
Sorry. Yeah. Inside the Trinity Church right there. Yeah. If you keep going that way, you'll hit Broadway, then you go down a couple of blocks.
Okay.
And,
Thanks very much. That seemed almost too easy, so later on I see how far I can take it. Excuse me, do you know where Trinity Church is?
It's in that direction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last time I switched with someone who looked a little bit like me, but where's the fun in that?
oh, excuse me.
You know who best direct you? The other side. You see where that lady's standing?
Sure.
That's the booth. No, the lady in the gray.
The other side.
Yeah, the other side of the
But you
booth.
say you don't know where it is?
Exactly what street? No, but it's in that direction.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Excuse me. Do you know where Trinity Church is from here?
Yeah, fine. Come on, I'll take you, or you want to walk now?
I'm gonna catch some other people.
Sorry, guys. The picture. Okay, listen, once you go on Broadway,
Yes.
remember the numbers are going... I could have sworn it was another guy. Once you hit the Broadway, you're going down.
Yes.
Walk up straight
that
that
way.
way, and just walk straight down. You're going to see it. It's really brown.
That's brilliant. Thanks for your help.
All right, fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Excuse me. Do you know where Trinity Church is?
Yeah.
Ah, great. Where are we on here? We sort of there.
We're right here.
Right through, thank you.
Go on. We are the Brooklyn Bridge. You want to cross over there, go down Broadway, and you'll be right there.
Okay. Thank you.
Excuse me, mate. Do you know this area? Do you know the area? Do you know Piccadilly Circus?
Go the tree.
So through there?
Yeah, through Leicester Square.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, go on for me. Where? If you keep going that way.
This way.
Get to Piccadilly Circus.
Oh, thank you very much.
problem. Good
Oh,
luck.
careful of the car. Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Excuse me, are you familiar with this area? No. No? Okay, all right.
What are you trying to look at?
Piccadilly Circus?
Piccadilly Circus. Covent
Yeah.
Garden here. Piccadilly Circus is
Oh,
right
sorry,
here.
hang on, sorry.
Sorry, which...
I just found it right here.
Okay, so is that straight over?
Definitely not that way. Piccadilly Circus is, I know it's that direction.
Over that way. Okay, thank you.
Do you know this area at all?
A little bit.
Do you know how to get to St Paul's from here? I'm not even quite sure where we are.
It's still the R.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, can you just trying to work out where I'm going?
We are here.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I think it's sort of down there.
I'm sure that wouldn't have worked quite as well if I was a very famous pop star. Well, it took me over 2 hours to find Francesco's keys, which was disappointing, but I did go to Venice for free, and I didn't fall into the canal on the way home like a twat. Sorry, I don't know how to get to St Paul's from here.
Yeah, you're well cut.
Ah, okay. Is it
Go
correct?
through to here.
Do you know where we are on here?
And
In which direction do we go?
hang on, just get my bearings. Liverpool Street, right, okay, we are...
Is that down in this direction there?
Yeah, that road there is Old Broad Street.
By watching this video, we witnessed human limitations regarding perception. People couldn't focus, and they even didn't perceive major differences in color or even gender. We must understand that our experiences influence us so much, and many times we might lose reality because of them. We construct biases, stereotypes, and rules based on past experiences. Why kids make us often reconsider the world around us? The answer is that children doesn't need to compare past experiences with present situations. I will tell you a short story of a kid and a policeman. A kid observes constantly a policeman in his police vehicle. Kid approaches and asks, "Is this a dog in the patrol car?" Policeman responds, "Yes, it's a dog." The kid, then obviously disturbed, responds, "What the dog did and you got it arrested." People perceive according to their map of the world. For the kid it was obvious that the dog, to be in the police patrol car, should have done something and get arrested. Why else should the dog be inside? So, people perceive according to their map of the world, and we all see the world through a different window. Another example that can provide proof of limitations and power of stereotypes is the following story. Just pay attention. A man and his son had a serious car accident. The father lost his life in the accident while the son was transferred to the hospital's emergency incident unit. At the arrival, the physician looked at the child and screamed out loud, "This is my child." Who was this person? Spend some seconds to think. Some of you may figure it out, while many of us search for connections and correlations. Our bias influences our perceptions. The person was the boy's mother, but our stereotypes lead us to perceive the physician as a male. When we heard that by arrival the physician looked at the child, most of us visualized the male doctor shouting out, "This is my child." After we introduce perception principles and differences, it is time to look at the barriers to perceive ourselves and others. First, are you stuck in the past? In what level the past follows you? Secondly, are your mind and brain closed to new information? Let's see the halo effect. The halo effect is a cognitive bias in which the overall impression of a person, company, brand, product, influences our feelings and thoughts. By halo effect, we perceive people that belong to a specific set of characteristics to be saints, to be good. For instance, people that have no tattoos are good people and are people that you can trust on. Horde effect is the opposite of halo effect. People in this set of characteristics are evil. So we can use the same example and say tattooed people are not good to wear. They are bad and not to be trusted. We all understand that this can be true. We can take only one set of characteristics or one characteristic and we apply it to understand what these people are capable of doing. So the third part is, do we block our perceptions? Predicting the outcome, the I knew it all along phenomenon, before a person ends what he is trying to say, we already have a conclusion. And also it's the first impression, which before we explore first impression, just take some time and see the next video with Dr. Gottman.
We can predict divorce and red flags in a couple's relationship from just the first 3 minutes of how they talk about an area of disagreement. So just the way they bring up the issue. The couples who are really not going to work out are the ones who bring up an issue as if their partner's character is defective. And they're really in this attack mode. So they get into attack and defend. And they're really suggesting, you know, the problem is really you. You need to change your personality. You need therapy. I happen to be nearly perfect, but you know, you have a lot of character flaws. You have stuff you need to work on. And so that attack, that criticism, leads people to become defensive and starts a spiral of physiological arousal. And it's hard to get out of conflict when it becomes this attack-defense state. And they can't repair, they can't exit very well. And pretty soon, most of their interaction, even non-conflict interaction, becomes suffused with this critical negativity. And so that's what makes it easy to predict.
Dr. Gottman is a great scientist that influences psychology, known for his work on marital stability and relationship analysis. First impression is found to have great influence in the overall impression. We are programmed to make snap judgments in the very first seconds of a situation, as it is a determinant for our survival. This phenomenon, known under the term thin slicing, and regards decisions taken under the minimum information. In work environment, most recruiters make up their decision the last quarter of the interview. Prejudice appears in the first 4 to 6 minutes, while first impression happens in the first 30 to 60 seconds. So the overall impression has already from the beginning been influenced. As influencers found to be expressions, clothes, hair, the body, the smell, the voice, and the tone. In research carried out by Gillette in 500 human resource professionals, the following criteria stated as the most influencing in an interview. 90% was the smell of the person. 61% was the clothes of the person, the clothing. 54% was the spots on the clothes of the person, how clean was the clothes. 49% was the hair, and 46% was the tattoo, if the person owned or had a tattoo on his body. Another important element in communication is the level of empathy, which is connecting with our perception. As the more you match with a person, the more you understand him, and the more probable to respond appropriately. Starting with empathy, we will explore the bystander effect. The influencer research on this field was triggered by the Kitty Genovese incident in 1964. A sad incident which raised the question why people in crowded places don't offer their help. The dominant answer is the urban myth that big cities make people distant and unconcerned. Research shows another dimension in this. Watch the first video with Kitty Genovese and we will return back. Researchers also challenged the paradox of the Good Samaritan. They took 40 students to test the paradox, and the conclusion was that maybe the Samaritan was in a less of a hurry. You can watch the video to see the experiment. So what we know today from the bystander effect is that in case of need, point a specific person. Don't express to the whole crowd, because you won't get a response. Mary Gordon organized the roots of empathy to cultivate empathy from childhood through the classroom. Research indicates that the absence of empathy is associated with prejudice, bullying, aggressiveness, and violence. Though cultivating empathy today will change the world tomorrow. Two empathy dimensions. We have the affective empathy, feel what other people feel, match, the ability to match. How are you influenced emotionally by others, personal distress, and we have the cognitive empathy. Be able to understand and imagine what other people are thinking. And second, walk a mile in a man's shoes. Get out of your shoes and get in the other people's shoes. That's why you will see in your presentation you have Everlast with a popular song that talks about this. God forbid you ever have to walk a mile in this man's shoes, because then you really might know what it's like. We take all this. That's about empathy. Now, taking it further, what most people confuse is the association of empathy with sympathy. To make a clear distinction between these two different notions, we suggest you to watch the next video.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, you can climb down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no, you want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. Yeah. And we do it all the time. Because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So, I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
So after watching this video, you can now say that empathy and sympathy is very different things. Empathy is not just caring about, it's not just seeing what other people suffer from, but living it and many times helping them go out. It was a very nice video because it demonstrates that people with sympathy will never help you go out of this hole. Empathy drives people, take you out of this hole. And as humanity, what we need, and as better communicators, what we need is to cultivate empathy. So, let's go further. Barriers to perceive ourselves and others. Oscar Wilde said, I'm not young enough to know everything. Yeah, he has a point. It's a blindering effect. When we don't want to see what's in front of us. Look the joke, look this picture in the left down. If I ever saw corporate or government crime, of course I do something about it. But he wears blind earrings. Why blind earrings? Remember why horse has blind earrings? To watch only one thing, and that's a blindering in our mind. The communication of blindering is that I hear what I want. Do you know everything? As we already discussed, it's the I knew it all along phenomenon. Somebody speaks to you and you just don't hear anything because you believe you know what he's going to say. And most of the times, most people just interrupt him. Sometimes you did this, but many times happens to you and you were angry about this. So, next time this happens to you, or the next time you're going to do it, you remember this. The first step in change is to acknowledge that something has happened. So your objective is to understand what happened, the time that happened, so progressively eliminate it to happen again. Stereotypes, halo, horn effect, and normal stereotypes, cultural influences, things that we believe that are grounded deep inside us and we express it through our communication patterns. Let's go to a test. Let's go to test our perception. Do you see the three triangles? So, now, observe and read fast the three sentences inside the triangles. Starting now. Did you saw the double A or the double Z? Our brain reads in sum and not letter by letter. That's why this happened. Let's go further. So, if you couldn't see this, what else you might couldn't see? What else you might couldn't perceive? And you know, keep on. Next slide, we discuss about 20 communication shutdowns. And there are millions of them. But now, you just take some time and read these shutdowns. It's sentences as don't be ridiculous. That's not my responsibility. That's very common in the workplace. We don't have time. We've never done that before. That's not the way we do things around here. If it came broke, don't fix it. Culture, eh? We're not ready for that. You can teach an old dog new tricks. It will never sell. We will become the laughing stock of the entire company. We tried that before and it didn't work. It simply can't be done. It's too radical of change and many of these. Are you crazy? These communication shutdowns. What would you expect? When you already started the discussion with a person. He starts the discussion and then you respond with one of these. What would you expect of this conversation? How would you expect this? How would you expect to continue this? What do you think would happen? Isn't it obvious? So next time, you have to remember this. And this is only few of a million, as we said. Find your own shutdowns. That's your objective from this course. Find your own communication shutdowns that are cultivated, are grounded in you, and fitted into patterns in your communication pattern. And break these patterns. Eliminate, acknowledge them, and take them out of your communication pattern. With this you will succeed progressively, because as we said, communication is practice. You may read thousands of books, thousands of pages, millions of pages, but what you do matters, because communication is practice. And now we reach the first learning activity. For this activity, so you might choose to do it with a friend of yours of college. Question, let's go, or we do it here. Question 1. The mayor was elected by the voters' majority. What was the actual percentage of votes? My sister is the tallest in her class in high school. What is her actual height? Michael Tom is an average smoker. How many cigarettes he smoked daily? Now, I'm sure that you had your answers. Now, use this in some friends of yours or other people without telling them your answer. Ideally, you should play this game, you should test it in a group of 5 or more people. I'm sure. And you know, and you will, as you will see, that many of us have different perception. Many of us perceive different the world. Because if I'm not a smoker, 20 cigarettes or a pack of cigarettes is much. If I smoke 4 packets a day, say okay. Average smoker, 2 packs a day. And the list goes on. Depends on my experiences, past experiences, and influences. My sister is the tallest. What is the height? If all the people in my family and all my friends are over 1.8, 1.90 meters, what's the average for me? Or what's the tallest? So, after you do this, just think, why were the answers different? In which more areas we might have different perceptions and opinions? How this is connected with our map of the world? As we see in this picture, suicide, everybody has their own ways. That's what's true in human communication. Everybody will have our own map of the world and our own way. Your mission now you know these things, you're responsible to understand the map of the other people's adapt, and deliver the messages according to their map. And we jump to the next section. And now it's time to jump to listening, another fundamental in communication. We don't listen, as the Chinese character reveals, we don't listen only with our ears. The Chinese character suggests that we use ear, heart, and eyes. We listen with emotions, with what we see and what we hear. Do you remember this game? Jump to the next slide. That's exactly what is the issue of listening. Are you hearing or listening? Because these are two different things. I hear of a car passing by the road. I hear this moment. I hear the computer working. I hear music. If I hear you talking, that has no point. That is no communication. I have to listen to you. That's the difference between hearing and listening. The listening dilemma is that we talk with a rate of almost 150 words per minute, but we listen with a rate of 1,000 words per minute. That gives us plenty of extra time. What's happening with this extra time? How we use it? How come we don't listen accurately? After all, we have so much time for us. Let's explore some barriers in listening. Listening needs effort. How do you respond to what you hear? Mindfulness. Mindfulness is the isolation of personal thoughts and emotions to focus on the person that is here and now. Be there for them. Do you prepare to listen? Do you listen with your mind, wisely, accurate? Do you listen to the message as it is in the sender's mind? Do you listen to the message as it is sent? As it is translated? Just take some time and think of these questions. Genders have certain tensions in communication, especially in listening. Women tend to search the connection between the parts of the message, are based more in emotions and instinct. After all, they listen to encourage understanding and create personal relationships. Women tend to build rapport, supportiveness, build relationships, ask questions, cooperate, or listening, seek consensus, and relate with other person. Men on the other side tend to feel more comfortable with integrated listening. Men listen to solve problems and tend to dominate discussions. Yeah, the women of this module will laugh now. As the men before laugh, but we already know, and you already know that people are different, and what we need is to bridge the gender gap in communication. Men report dominance, individuality, avoid discussions, avoid questions, assert, focus, give orders, resolve. I just followed the stand-up comedy that was very funny on men, because said men do everything, not talk. And that's why men invented fishing. It's the absolute solution of doing nothing and saying nothing. Now, we go to a listening activity. Sing with your ears. See the two videos to understand how our brain might alter what we actually hear or see. In the first video, do you hear ba or fa? In the second video, bill or kill, and so it goes on. Because what is obvious here is, by changing the pictures, our mind alters what we see and what we hear, actually. The sound doesn't change. What changes is the picture. And the brain finds inconsistency between these two messages, and what it does, it conforms and alters the message you hear to what you see. Because this you see is more relevant to what you hear. What to avoid the communication? Never say to speak the truth. Were you lying all this time? Avoid yes but. It equals no. Replace with yes and. Avoid asking if they understand. They're not idiots after all. They understand. You didn't explain it properly. Replace with did I explain you well? It's more proper. They're more noble. In positive situations, use you. Use I rarely. Avoid we if the audience isn't related or included. In negative situations, on the other hand, protect your interlocutor's ego. Avoid blaming, the blame game. Use passive verbs. Use impersonal style and talk for objects, not people. Let's make an example here to make it easy. John, you didn't deliver the papers on time. John, I'm afraid that the papers weren't delivered on time. So the second option is better, it's more wise, it follows the rule. We're talking about the object. You're blaming the papers, the bad papers. You don't blame the person. So this allows you to eliminate the defenses. Because when you attack the other person, he made defense. So by blaming the other person directly, you allow him to build walls in front of you. Next, discrimination-free language is very important. Age or race, talk only if it's relevant. Talk in the group under the term they wish to be called. Don't create competition. She's an answer to her race. He's an active 83 years old. Why to create competition into this? Language that doesn't discriminate. Gender, age, nationality, race, physical condition, religion. Talking for vulnerable groups is another dimension of communication. Just think. Use people first language. Name the person, add the disability later, and only if this is relevant. Don't presuppose that disability or illness characterizes a person. Avoid negative terms if the audience doesn't wish to hear them. Deaf or hard of hearing. Avoid these terms. If it is not necessary, don't use them at all. Actually, they're all people, they're all persons, but we're not familiar with them. We like what we see every day, what is common with us. So what we're not used, we feel strange, but fight it. First for ethics, and second for result. Some tips to close this section. Speak for the audience, not for you. Nobody likes ego people. Nobody likes to hear about how great you are. You create this atmosphere. If you are great, you will create it. They say about Alexander the Great that what he wanted, he said that I have to sleep last and wake up first, because I don't want people to see me sleeping or anyway. Refer to the audience, will or dictate. Don't report or talk nonsense. In positive situations, use you more than I. Use we only when it includes the audience. In negative situations, avoid you, talk for objects, things, situations, e.g. the task is pending. Was a complaint, as we discussed earlier. And here we are about to close the chapter and jump to the next. What is the takeaway from this chapter, as we said, is that communication is a practical and not theoretical science. What you need to know, yes, of course, you have to read and to understand more, but what you have to do is practice every day. In finance, we say 3 F's: friends, foods, and family can fund your business. But here, friends, foods, and family is the ones that you are going to test your skills in communication in order to develop them, to be better. Thank you for this. And I hope you, and I wish you a great journey to your development.